Using unusual language, CNN tonight is reporting the president is, and we quote, super pissed that his candidate for chief of staff went sideways, at least for the minute. Trump announced this weekend John Kelly is out. He will leave at the end of the month, and the new guy was going to be Nick Ayers, the 36-year-old chief of staff to Mike Pence, and perhaps the only person in the West Wing who reminds people of a young Mike Pence and a young Donald Trump, both at the same time. The press release announcing Ayers was written. He was the rumored heavy favorite of Jared and Ivanka. Then Ayers turned it down. Here's how the New York Times put it. Quote, one former senior administration official called it a humiliation for Mr. Trump and his adult children, an emotion the president tries to avoid at all costs. Nancy Cook of Politico, standing by to talk to us, had this to report, quote, with Ayers out of the picture, Trump now faces the challenging task of finding a chief of staff who is both capable of doing the job and, perhaps more important, willing to step into the West Wing's hornet's nest. One person being considered for the job, Republican Congressman Mark Meadows, is pushing back against this idea that no one wants the job.
He's got a number of people who gladly serve in his administration. And so any narrative that would suggest otherwise is just not accurate.
With us to talk about it tonight, the aforementioned Nancy Cook, White House reporter for Politico. So, Nancy, is the president looking for a quality hang or a sycophant, a best friend, or a superb manager of paper flow and personnel?
I would say all of the first qualifications that you mentioned and less of a manager. The president really wants someone who will let him do what he wants to do, call whomever he wants, sort of not have a ton of process in the White House. And that's really how the president likes to run things. He likes to run things where he is a spoke and everyone else is sort of, part of a wheel that's coming into that hub. And that's how he likes to structure power in the White House. So he doesn't want someone, despite what he may say publicly, who's going to come in and try to monitor his phone calls, monitor his access to people. That's just not what has succeeded in this White House so far.
I hope you are prepared to break a huge development on this broadcast tonight when I ask you the big question in Washington for the past 24 hours. A 36-year-old guy actually unironically uses the phrase, I want to spend more time with my family. What happened with Nick Ayers? What's the real story?
Well, it's fascinating because my reporting shows that Trump actually offered Nick Ayers the job of chief of staff on election night. And so that was almost a month ago. And they informally talked about it at a party in the White House residence. Melania Trump, the first lady, was standing there. It seemed like a done deal. Basically they were just waiting for a way to have General John Kelly leave in a graceful manner. That's what a lot of White House advisors were really cautioning the president not to fire by tweet a four-star general. What happened in the interim is that Trump and Nick Ayers had a number of conversations, including one this weekend, about what the terms of the job would look like. Ayers told the president and Kelly and Pence that he really wanted carte blanche to fire people. He really wanted to be able to run the West Wing exactly how he saw fit. But he only wanted to do it for a fixed amount of time. And the president wasn't willing to agree to that. The president wanted someone who could stay through 2020 and really help with his reelection campaign. And it's remarkable that a 36-year-old political operative would be given this opportunity and still not want it. I think that says a lot about sort of the mood in the White House right now.
And Nancy, I'm sure some people just look at this job and consider it, as we said earlier, a subpoena magnet.
It absolutely is. Reince Priebus has had to hire a lawyer and has been interviewed by the Mueller investigation. General John Kelly has sat down with them. So many White House aides have had to hire lawyers, on government salaries. They don't make that much money. They've had to hire these high-priced lawyers because they're sort of swept up in this. And that's going to continue to be even more so a possibility as the West Wing empties out and as you're trying to sort of control the president, urge him not to talk about the special investigation whenever he wants. You know, this is a really hard job in any circumstance, but just facing the Mueller investigation, Democrats taking over the House, and the re-election, it just seems like an insurmountable task to a lot of people. And contrary to what Representative Meadows says, there really aren't a lot of people who want to take the job at this point.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.